What's up, everybody? BigSweetC here with you. Got another fantastic episode of the Another Gamer Dad podcast. This is episode number 9, and we've got some stuff to talk about today. So, uh, we will get into kind of why this might be a little bit shorter, and I kind of rushed this one out a little bit because I didn't have a whole lot of time to do it. But I want to talk about the mini games in Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. That's going to be in our gaming segment. I want to talk about the Lions Draft, which I really liked. Some people kind of gave it a little bit above average, but not the best. And then in the cinema segment, I want to talk about my wife watches a lot of Korean dramas on Netflix, and I've come to know and enjoy them. But first, we got to talk about so my son Christopher had his first cold ever. He's almost 2. He'll be 2 in August. It is May, I think, right now. So in about 3 months, he'll be 2 years old. He has yet to even have the sniffles up until a few days ago, and then he ran across what looks like it wasn't really like a fever or anything. Although he did have a little bit of a fever, I guess. His head was a little warm, but mostly he had a lot of congestion, and it really bothered him. You know, he didn't know how to blow his nose just yet, and he still breathes out his nose predominantly because he's always trying to bite on something or suck on his pacifier, and so the poor guy, he got his first cold, and I think so. My wife was sick a few days ago, about a week ago. I think my son probably got it from him or from her, and then I think I kind of came down with a little something. I got a little headache going, a little congestion going myself. I think I probably got it from Christopher, so we just kind of pass it along to each other, and that's kind of what I was kind of worried about. Like my wife and I, we don't go out a whole lot, so we don't really catch colds, because we're not around a bunch of different people that we don't know. And we were like, when Chris starts going to school or when Chris starts having friends over and stuff, we're going to be, introduced to a whole bunch of stuff that we wouldn't normally be introduced to. And so this kind of took us by surprise. It's not super surprising. Again, my wife was feeling a little under the weather, and then we had a couple of her. I don't know if I would call them friends, but the truth about the Nepali culture is, if you're Nepali and they're Nepali, you're friends, you're family, no matter what, right? And so you're just expected to kind of hang out with everybody that's from Nepal. And so we had a couple of Nepali ladies over. Well, I'll call them my wife's friends. One of them actually used to rent one of the rooms out here at the house that we're staying at. So that was kind of interesting. But they came over and they met Christopher for the first time. So he'd been around a couple of new people, and he kind of came down with his first cold. And that first night we didn't really know that he had a cold, right? He was kind of he had some boogers, right? But he's always got boogers, kind of. And but he was really restless when we were trying to put him to sleep for his nap, and then specifically at nighttime. So we came to the conclusion that that he probably had something that was kind of keeping him up. And so my wife and I, again, credit to my wife, she's the freaking best. But we kind of went into, I don't want to say panic mode, but we kind of went into, oh my God, we've never been in this situation mode. and so my wife, is as great as she is, decides to just buy anything that says this for baby cold. We're getting cough syrup, we're getting fever reducer, we're getting the sinus congestion reducer, all this stuff. As long as it said for baby's cold, we took it, we bought it, we tried it all. And so luckily he only he was only sick for a day or two, but man, those were some kind of tough nights, because he still sleeps in the bed with us. And well, if he can't sleep, he lets you know that he's not sleeping. So we kind of missed out a little bit. I think that's kind of why I came down with it, is I didn't get a whole lot of sleep while we were taking care of him. But credit to my wife. She was spot on with some of the stuff that she actually gave her. It eased him down a lot. We were able to. He hates he hates getting his nose clean. So the poor guy, we had to do it quite a bit the last couple of days, and so I think him crying about that kind of helped him sleep at night too. So it was a crazy little time, and I didn't know what to expect. I don't think my wife did either. We were kind of probably hoping that it was going to be a little while before this actually happened, but at some point your child is going to get sick, and so kudos to my wife for not kind of not like super spazzing out about it. Me, I'm just like, oh, he'll get over it. My wife was smart enough to grab some stuff for it, and so we were able to kind of calm him down, and we got him through it. And he's a tough little bugger. He's a tough little bugger. I think he's going to learn from this adventure. We're still kind of picking his nose for him a little bit, and he absolutely hates it. But at least he's sleeping now. He goes, he takes his naps, and he sleeps through the night. We got a lot of sleep the last couple of nights. We went to bed at 10:30, 11 o'clock, and we slept until 9 today, 9:30, so about 12 hours. I think we got, or about 10 hours, sorry. I think we got about 12 hours the night before that. So hopefully he's over it, and he's gotten over his being sick for a little while, and with a little bit of luck, he won't get sick for another long time. But again, crazy little moment that I just wanted to share with you guys, because I mean it's his first, and we've had a lot of firsts, but this one was probably the craziest in our time, right? Like, because everybody at some point, your child's going to learn to walk, he's going to learn to run, he's going to learn to talk. Christopher's still not talking a whole lot, but he really kind of went crazy a little bit when he got sick. So I think he didn't know really what he was doing, what he was feeling. So kudos to my dude for being brave and sticking through it. All right. So first little commercial break. I know, again, it might be a little short just because I kind of had to rush through this one a little bit because of his sickness. So good old Coffee. You know anybody that wants to, sponsor a show? Random fact, I heard Rumble actually has a coffee now. The platform Rumble has their own coffee, 1775 coffee. I don't know why 1775, but who knows? I would say something about independence. Maybe that's when. I get maybe that's officially when the Constitution was written, or the Bill of Rights, or whatever, the freedom of speech. But I'm not sure why 1775. Kind of a weird date. All right, so we'll move right into our second segment here. We're talking about, like I said, we're probably going to talk about Rebirth for a little while, because it's such a fantastic game. It is easily my favorite game right now, and it's leagues better than anything that's come out this year. Is it good enough to win Game of the Year? Yes. Is it the type of game that is going to win Game of the Year? I don't know. We'll see. A lot of people seem to think that it's a little too stereotypical. You got Barrett, who just happens to be the sole black guy, right? And he's also like the comedic one, but he's a lot more than that. And we'll get into the different characters and stuff and their archetypes and whatnot. But on face value, on surface level, that's what a lot of people are saying. And not to mention, like, there's not a whole lot of alphabet main characters, we'll say. So is it good enough to win Game of the Year? Absolutely. It's probably the best game I've ever played. But again, there's so much more to it than just being the best game of the year now that it's hard to say what actually is going to win Game of the Year, but it would be my pick right now. However, the one thing that I want to talk about today about this game is there's been a lot of backlash to how many mini games there are in it, and clearly, if you're upset about the amount of mini games that are in Rebirth, then you never played the original, because the original was littered with mini games from, the escape on the bike, to the chocobo racing. You've got the little mini game where you're, trying to resuscitate Priscilla after she almost drowns in Juna, Lower Junon. Then you got the snowboard game. And so, like, it's always been a mainstay in Final Fantasy, these little mini games. There just happens to be a lot more of them in Rebirth than I can recall in any single Final Fantasy game. And they're all fantastic in their own right. Some of them, yeah, are better than others, obviously. But for the most part, all of them are great. They're a little break from the main game, in case that way you don't have to just kind of like keep foraging forward, But they also give you a lot of great stuff if you're willing to take the time to master them, and that's how you get some of your best stuff. The ribbon you get from beating Sephiroth in the 3D brawler game, and the ribbon is arguably one of the most powerful accessories in the game. Like, I always get the ribbons in every Final Fantasy game. They're fantastic. And so, I don't understand why people are like so upset by these, because again, it's not any different from the original. There was a bunch in the original, and it's not like Final Fantasy hasn't had mini games throughout its history, essentially. Even Final Fantasy 1, when you're in the ship, you just hit A B A B A B A B A B a bunch of times, and it takes you to that little number game where you got to get it all lined up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all this stuff. And so, like, mini games were just kind of a thing in Final Fantasy. The fact that you have so many of them, I think, makes it even greater, because you got so much more stuff to do. Some of them, again, are kind of they can be kind of annoying, like the frog leap and all this stuff, and the cactuar crush kind of gets to be a pain in the ass sometimes. But that's the beauty of the games, is learning how to play them. Shoot, I mean, I'm enjoying just trying to figure out how to play, the sit up game with Tifa. Like, I'm terrible at it. I don't know how to do it properly, I guess. And so, it's been both frustrating and exciting at the same time, trying to figure out how to play this. And so I've absolutely loved the mini games. But I wanted to go over my top 5. Starting with number 5, it's the G bike. I really like this mini game. I liked it back in the original. When you played it, trying to escape from Shinra. I liked it in remake when you were playing it to escape from Shinra. And then at Golden Saucer when you play it as well. Like, it's just, for whatever reason, to me, it just seems like a very Final Fantasy VII game. I can definitely see Cloud being a very good bike racer, and then you have you have your little nemesis Roche, who's also a motorcyclist, and so it's just always kind of been a fun one to play. And like, and how you do it in this one, where you get the G coins and stuff like that, and you have like your your little burst special. It's just I think more than anything, it's just kind of like one of those ones that's been a staple, and so I like it for the fact that it has made its way through. Number 4 would be Desert Rush. Here's another one that came back kind of from a remake. It wasn't in the original Final Fantasy VII, if I remember correctly, but it was definitely in remake, Final Fantasy VII remake. The kids in Sector 6 had you play it. But there, this is another one that's kind of simple, but also difficult as well, because like, it's very specific. The route you take is how you're going to have enough time to break all these boxes. And for whatever reason, I always liked it in remake, and for whatever reason, I just really like it in this one. I think it is kind of the figuring out the route to take, which is what makes this one fun to me. And like, it's just that there's always different kind of ways to kind of figure out where you're going. This one adds a few things. You have the power cycled boxes that you have to you break the electric boxes, and then you can destroy some other ones and stuff. So it added a little bit to it. that made it fun. Where you also have to like go up and down certain levels to progress through the place, and it just made it it made a fun game more fun for me in Desert Rush. Number 3 would be Queen's Blood. Now, this originally was like my favorite mini game. You get introduced to it really early, chapter 2, I believe. And it's another mini game that they've had where you're like playing cards against other people. Really kind of made me think of Triple Triad from Final Fantasy VIII. But this game, like it was phenomenal. Like figuring out not just like how to play, right? A lot of it is luck. Which cards come up in your hand? Can you play them at a specific time, and do they help you? Um, but you get into some others where there's like tournaments, and then there's like specialty card games, like Card Carnival and Costa del Sol, where you have to like figure out which cards to play and when to play, because the other team already has their score and you have to beat that score. There's also like the multiple round ones in Golden Saucer, where you have to decide which cards you want to play in the first and second round, and hopefully keep enough for the later rounds that you can come back and score a bunch of points and stuff. So another great mini game that has a ton of different variations of ways to play throughout Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is one of the reasons why I think it's so high on this list, because there are the multitude of ways. There's the tournament on the boat over from Junon over to Costa del Sol. And then again, when you get into Costa del Sol, they have their own kind of version of the mini game where you have to team up with, I'm drawing a blank of her name, purple-haired girl. She ends up being the one that has the Shadow Blood Queen card. And so there's just a multitude of different ways to play this game, and it really keeps it exciting. And then when you get into the later rounds, when you're playing like, spoiler alert, Vincent, or even the Ghost in the Haunted Hotel, there's really good players, and it makes it fun trying to figure out how to beat them, and some of it is luck. A lot of it is luck, again, not gonna say otherwise, but it's also knowing how to play the cards that you have to be successful at it. And that makes it a lot of fun to me. That's the challenge of it. Number 2 would be Chocobo racing. Now, this, in my opinion, has always been probably the best part of Final Fantasy VII. That is the Chocobo racing. I love the fact that that's how you can like increase your breeding characteristics in the original. In this one, you have, you're depending on how far you are in the game, you have your different colored chocobos that each have different abilities. Some can fly, some can sprint, some shoot stuff at your enemies, and so there's a bunch of different ways to really play your chocobo. But you can also, you can buy the gear that gives them better stats as well. And then on top of that, you have these fantastic courses. Like they are absolutely straight out of Mario Kart. Like these would challenge Mario Kart for some of the greatest race courses in all of gaming. And so you just add that all together, it just makes it super, super fun. And it's even more exciting than I probably thought it was going to be. I had a feeling that they were going to obviously make it better, right, from the original. But being able to have these like 3D Mario Kart views and these different courses and the obstacles in the course and stuff that you got to avoid was even beyond my expectation. Like I really, really like the Chocobo racing in this. And whenever it is that I need goal points for anything that I want to purchase at the Golden Saucer, the first place I go to is Chocobo Square and run a couple of races, and then you have the side quests where you win the gold cup, and it's super fun to play, and it's a very fun time, and I could literally play it for hours. The only reason that it wasn't probably high number one is because our number one 3D brawler is a fairly new game. Like I don't really remember this from the original. So they kind of split it up where in the original, when you went into Battle Square, you went in with one character and one character only, and then you had, the little slot wheels that made it more difficult as you go along. Whereas this one is, they've kind of broken it up. They still have the battle arena, right? They still have the Musclehead Coliseum, but they do it out differently. You can have 2 or 6 people, and then you just fight a bunch of enemies, but you're not like restricted in any way. Whereas 3D Brawler kind of puts you back into that single mano e mano matchup where you have to guess what they're about to do, and you have to dodge, and you just kind of, you don't really get an opening until they let you get the opening. And it was pretty easy at first, and so it was kind of just like another mini game. But once you start getting into when you have to play Yuffie, she's a very good character to play. And then specifically when you get at the end, after the can't stop won't stop match or side quest, when you have to take on Sephiroth is very tough. Like he doesn't really, one, you have to dodge like 10 or 12 before he even gives you an opportunity to swing. And then when he does give you an opportunity to swing, you only have a couple of seconds to do it, decide which one you're going to punch with, because he'll go right back to being defensive almost immediately. So you have to be very on your game. And now I know there's the old, everybody talks about on the old interwebs, the pause technique. Luckily, I'm good enough. I didn't need to do it that way. But I can understand why people would do that. Like, because again, there's only a couple attacks that Sephiroth does that are, very obvious which ones they are. But his like side swing and his overhand are pretty close to the same start, right? And so you have to kind of wait until it's just about to happen before you can make your decision. Because it's going to be tough to decide right away which one it is. And then don't get me started when he does his little super move, right, where he powers up and he's doing 4 or 5 different moves at the time. It can be tough, and I think I think because of the newness is actually what attracted me to it, to like it a little bit more than Chocobo Racing. But I really, really enjoyed the one-on-one aspect and the kind of having to kind of predetermine what your enemy is going to do, and defend against it. A lot of it is, I think he's going to do this, and just hoping that you're right. and so. And so it was very fun. It was very challenging, and that's kind of my favorite part about these is they do get super challenging. I haven't completed them all. Like I said, I'm awful at Tifa's ab crunch or whatever it's called mini game. I'm absolutely awful at it. I haven't been able to beat the hard modes for Cactuar Crush. I think I've done one hard mode. I think I've only done one hard mode of the Gears and Gadgets in Cosmo Canyon area. Like some of these they just take time to figure out what you need to do and how you need to set your stuff up. I guess you could always look up a guide, but I try to figure it out on myself, so on my own. And that's what I've always appreciated about these mini games is it gives you a break from just playing the game for a little while, and it kind of gives you challenging little ways to try and figure out how to do things, and it gives you replay value, gives you a ton of replay value. So I don't think you should hate it. I think you should love these games. But those are my top 5. And again, don't get me wrong. Fort Condor is great. Once you figure out kind of what you're doing with the leapfrog game is fantastic. I love doing the dolphin swimming game like that. That's another great one too. And so there's a bunch of little mini games. What Wild Things or whatever it's called in Costa del Sol with Red 13, where you're kicking the soccer balls around. That one's fun too. Like there's just a bunch of really good ones. These just happen to be my top 5. Coffee. Love coffee. Yeah, shoot, man. last 3 days I've woken up with a headache, and I don't know how to get rid of it. Like, I mean, it's been so hot in Vegas here, and my wife, again, because Christopher's been feeling ill, my wife has basically refused to turn the AC on. So it's been hot, and I think I think some of that might be why I've had these headaches. Because I've also haven't been able to sleep very well. But when it's like super hot, it's hard for me to sleep. So, but it's all right. It's all for my son, and I love him. So I got no complaints. Okay, let's get into it. Let's talk a Detroit Lions draft. Specifically, this last draft just happened a week ago, 2 weeks ago now. But the Detroit Lions had originally had the 29th overall pick. They actually traded up with Dallas to 24 to draft Terrion Arnold, cornerback from Alabama, who by all means necessary probably should have been a top 10 to 15 draft pick. So the fact that we were able to get him at 24 is amazing. And I know Brad Holmes loves to go to the Alabama well. But the truth is, it's worked out so far. Brian Branch, Jahmyr Gibbs, hopefully Terrion Arnold now. Like, have at it, Haas. If you can take whatever Nick Saban did with the players at Alabama and turn them into NFL elite athletes, I'm all for it. And again, Terrion Arnold was the number 2 ranked corner in the draft. We were able to get him at 24. Really bolsters our secondary. And then we turn around in the second round and we take Enos Rakestraw Jr., another corner from Missouri, who is another high rated guy. And the fact that we got him at, I think it was 61, he probably should have been, a top 50 guy. And so we were able to get these, not just, I don't want to say lockdown corners, because they're, again, there's been maybe 5 lockdown corners in the entirety of the NFL history, right? You've got Deion Sanders, you've got I'm trying to think of that dude, Darrelle Revis from the Jets, and I mean, that's about it, bro. Like, so lockdown corner is not really like when people call it that, like that. I think they're over exaggerating really what they're saying, but these guys are good in coverage. More importantly, they're what we like out of players. They're physical. They can hit the line of attack, and they're good against the run. And so the fact that we were able to grab these 2 guys, we also brought in free agency a couple of corners. We have totally revamped our secondary. Later in the draft, we were able to grab Cyan Vaki. I think he played at Utah. He was a safety, but he also played running back. So now, and we'll get into that in a second. But now we've got, excuse me. Now we've got what, 4 or 5, because we re-signed Vildner, we re-signed Emmanuel Mosley. We brought in these other 2 guys. So now we've got 5 corners. We've got about 5 safeties. And what Brad Holmes and is thinking, because what Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn like to do is they like to rotate these guys. We play a lot of man, but we don't. It's kind of this weird hybrid, zone man type stuff where we don't like to have one guy follow a guy around the field. We would rather, hey, if he's on your side of the field, you got him in man. But if he runs to the other side, then you have him in man. We play this kind of like disguised defense, and we love to rotate players. That's our biggest weakness last year, was easily the back end. We were 29th, I think, in pass coverage. We were 32nd in yards per route run. And it was mostly because, we had these guys that we brought in. They got hurt right away. Emmanuel Mosley was supposed to be our number 1, and he got hurt literally, I think, the second play of the first game of this season. So, and then, we were so thin at the position that was it. Once he went down, we were basically playing bandage game the rest of the season, and so now we have a plethora of people that we can go to of legitimate elite players. And I know these two guys are rookies, but they, from what I've been told, everybody is unbelievably surprised that they were still there when the Lions got to draft them. And so, if they are as good as they should be, or if they develop like they should, then we've got a plethora of people on the back end that we can just plug and play, and we don't have any drop off. Like, we can give these players a rest so they don't get hurt. And at the same time, we're not worried about, oh shit, well, so and so is out, now we got to worry about the deep ball, because they're all on the same level, and they're all capable of playing at an elite NFL level. And that's exactly what I think the Lions needed to do in this draft, and that's exactly what they did. Because now we have not only people that can come in and play right away, but we have a group that can learn together and grow because they're still young. Brian Branch is only a second-year player. Kirby Joseph, I think, is in his third season. So, we've got these players that can now grow together. They can get together. They can understand where they're going to be and where everybody else is going to be, and they can become the new Legion of Boom, right? And so I think these two first-round picks, these first and second-round pick, and then I'm pretty sure Cyan was our second, fourth round. They really bolster easily the weakest part of our team. And but at the same time, we also got players that are worth more in their value than we had to give up to get them, which is always a bonus anytime you can do so. Our other pick in the fourth round was Giovanni Manu, offensive tackle. I think he played in the FCS. So they were Division II, but he's an offensive tackle. Late in the sixth round, we picked up Christian Mahogany, another guard out of, I think, Boston College. So again, the strength of our team, our offensive line, we just bolstered up. We've got people that are getting old. Taylor Deckers, he can't have that many years left. He's been around since he was part of our 0-16 season back in 2016, I think that was. So you're looking at a player who's been in the league for almost 10 years as an offensive tackle. You're probably not going to play much more than that. We've got a guard. From what I understand, he's a very mobile guard, which is another great thing, because we like to pull guards, and he can grow and learn with Penei Sewell. They can learn behind Frank Ragnow, who's arguably the best center in football. We've just given ourselves some depth in our strongest position, because that's what we do. We play power front football. If we could run the ball 65 times in a game, we would run the ball 65 times in a game. And that's just how Dan Campbell and Brian Johnson want to play, or Ben Johnson want to play. And that's going to be better for Goff, because now we can play power football that sets up the play action pass, which is what Goff is best at. He's not really a drop back shotgun kind of player, although if he has time to survey the field, he can be a good drop back passer as well. And by bolstering the offensive line, making it better, making it deeper, he's going to be able to do that more often this season. And so we upgraded our weakest spot. We also upgraded our strongest spot, which I think is great news for the future. Our other draft pick, Mekhi Wingo, we got him in the fifth round, I believe. D tackle out of LSU. This dude, I cannot believe he was still there in the fifth round. He should have been probably a day 2 pick. And so for him to fall like he did and for us to pick up is fantastic, because this dude is a bull rusher. And now we finally have somebody that can be on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson and take some of that pressure off him, and actually and create distress on opposing quarterbacks. Without having to scheme for it, which is the best part. Like, we don't really like to blitz a whole lot. We do some schemes here and there. We bring a lot of safeties. We bring a lot of corners. But it's not like we want to bring a lot of guys. We want to create pressure with a front four if possible. And now we have a guy that can hopefully bring that added pressure. We bolstered up with Reeder we were able to pull him from Cincinnati. So now we have a defensive line again. We love to rotate players. We love depth. We love being able to keep people not just healthy, but not exhausted by the fourth quarter, right? I can't tell you how many times in the history of watching the Lions, we have a great starting team, but as soon as they start getting tired, the other team starts making a comeback because we don't have anybody we can put in that's capable of stopping the other team or scoring on the other team. We have to have our starters in all the time. And they're going to get tired, right? They're going to get tired after a 60-minute game. They're going to get tired after 17 60-minute games. If we plan on making a long run like we did last year, we went to the NFC Championship, we plan on making it there again, and even the game after that, then we're going to need people to stay healthy. And there's no better way to stay healthy than to have a deep team, a team full of depth that you can put out there and not worry that they're going to give up a long run or they're going to give up a long pass because you're as confident in them as you are in your starters. Now, the one last thing that I will say about the Cyan Vaki, because he was able to play both sides of the football, I think he is going to be an absolute stud on special teams. We love going for it on fourth down. We love faking punts on fourth down. And so I can see this dude being the up back protector of the punter and just being able to take a fake and go 50 yards downfield. You know what I mean? Like there's so much potential with this guy because he's so versatile. He is a fantastic asset for any team to have, and I am very, very happy that he is on the Detroit Lions team. Now, after the draft was over, a lot of the experts, right, Mel Kiper and blah, 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 and they all gave the Lions, I saw anywhere between a B- and a B+. Now, that's better than what we got last year. Last year, we were basically told that our draft was a worthless pile of shit. And then we came out and we had Jahmyr Gibbs was an all-rookie. Sam Laporta is probably the best tight end in the league, definitely the best young tight end in the league. And so, we were able to do way better than what the what anybody thought we were able to get out of our draft picks. Kirby Joseph was another one a couple of years ago that people were unsure of. Brian Branch probably should have been defensive rookie of the year. And so if we can get even half the production out of this year where people really liked it a lot better what we did than we did the previous year, if we can get half that same kind of production over value that we were able to get 2 years ago, there's nothing stopping from the Lions going to the Super Bowl. Like I fully heartedly believe that of the top 2 or 3 teams in the NFL, I think the Lions probably got better than the 49ers did. I think they got better than. It's hard to say they got better than the Chiefs did because they're the defending champions. Doesn't really seem to matter what they have on their team. They always find a chance, a way to win. So, but right now, the Lions are ranked the fourth best team in the NFL, second best team in the NFC, just behind the 49ers, who are the number 2 team in the NFL, and rightfully so. 1 and 2, Kansas City, San Francisco. They played in the Super Bowl last year. They have the Ravens at 3, and then us, the Lions, at 4. I honestly, I think it's going to be hard to stop Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson in the backfield, but I don't see more potential in any of those 3 teams than I do in the Detroit Lions, and I might be drinking the Honolulu Blue Kool-Aid. That's true, but I think the Lions, they're much younger than all 3 of those teams. I think the future is brighter for the Lions than it is for any team in the NFL right now, and it makes me excited. we still have a few weeks left before training camp and stuff starts. So, who knows? Maybe there's another guy or two that we bring in. I know a lot of people thought we were going to go after another wide receiver in this year's draft. I'm glad we didn't. I think we've got receivers that we can use. We picked up this guy Antoine Green last year. He's a big dude, 6'6", 235, something like that. So really the only thing that we were missing in the wide receiver core is the 50-50 ball guy. And at 6'6", 235, you can be a 50-50 ball guy as long as you develop. And so I think our offense got better. Our defense definitely got better over the offseason, and that was definitely the weaker side of the ball. We were easily one of the 2-3 best offensive teams last year in the NFL, and we got slightly better. Now, if our defense can, really step up and be, instead of a top 20 team, be a top 10 team, I don't see any reason why we can't make a deep run this year, pending, injuries to multiple players. But the future is bright in Detroit, and I'm super excited about it because I didn't think it would ever happen in my lifetime. And my kudos to Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. They have done a knockout job for one of the worst franchises in sports. Excuse me. All right. We'll just go right into it. Like I said, maybe today is a little bit shorter, although we're at about 40 minutes, so it won't be that much shorter. But we'll go right into our cinema segment. This one should be fun. It's really more about being fun than anything. All right. Well, that brings us to our fourth and final segment of today, our cinema segment, our film section, our movie section, our TV and industrial photo picture booth section. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just being dumb. But I brought this up earlier. So my wife, I don't really find a lot of stuff on Netflix worth watching. I'm not gonna lie. Like there's, I used to think Netflix was the shit. But lately I haven't found anything really worth watching on it. However, my wife loves Netflix because she watches a lot of international stuff, and so she watches a lot of Hindi movies. She watches a lot of like Thai horror stuff. But really, what she watches probably most of are Korean dramas. And now I've obviously because she's my wife, I've sat down and watched a bunch of these with her. And I'm not gonna lie. At first, I thought they were kind of silly, right? They were over the top. They were unconventional. It was very easy to pick out. Oh, that guy and that girl are gonna end up together. Oh no, that guy and that girl, they're gonna break up. That guy is so and so. That's the bad guy. This is the good guy. Blah blah blah. And my wife hated it because I could tell 15 minutes into the first episode of like a 16, 17 episode series, right? And so at first I kind of just took them at face value, and I didn't really think too much about them. They were just something that my wife liked to watch. But the truth is, we've watched a ton of them, a ton of them lately. And the fact that they are kind of silly and over the top and unconventional and easy to read is actually what makes them a lot of fun. Like I'm not gonna lie, I do enjoy watching them now. Some of them are better than others. That's no joke. But they are like they're easy to read, so it's kind of easy to follow, which is nice because again, I don't know Korean, so I have to sit there and read the subtitles the whole time, and that's not a huge thing to me. But after a while, you kind of it's just easier if you can kind of see right away who's going to be what and what's going to be who and who this is and who that is, and it's easy to tell who these people are. It makes having to read the subtitles a lot easier to follow along. And then the unconventionality of it. I mean, they are so outlandish sometimes. The music is always like you always have this like upbeat rock music when the hero's walking in, and then you've got the terrifying like melodic kind of house music when the enemy walks in, right? Or every time they make an entrance, it's they open up both doors and it's in slow motion, and here comes the hero just looking like so cool, right, as he walks into the room, and everybody's as he walks by and stuff. And again, it's just so over the top. But that's what makes it fun, right? That's what makes uh, kind of giggling at this stuff. Now, I have no idea if that's what my wife likes about it. I'm a little bit more versed in movie uh criticism theory, behind the scenes stuff than she is, because I studied it and she didn't. But to me, that's at first it was kind of annoying because I come from a very strict, everything's got to look real, right? That's how Hollywood does it. It has to look as real as possible. And if there's any kind of like, and this is why I never really got into horror movies, because it's always like, they have the choice: this way to safety, that way to sure death, and they always take the way to sure death. And it's like, what are you doing? There's no logic behind horror movies really for that point. Because again, when I studied this stuff, like that's what that's what they embedded into my thought. They propagandized me with, is everything's got to look logical, right? It's got to seem like it could really happen in real life. And there's absolutely no way that any of this stuff in Korean dramas could happen in real life. But that's what makes them stand out. You've got people that there's shows that believe in like magic, right? And so they have like they can use these crystals that shoot ice and stuff and fire and whatnot. They create storms out of nowhere. And it just they're always some sort of like curse put on them because they did this thing with a voodoo doll or whatever. And again, at first it was kind of like, what the heck are you watching? This is silly. uh, but the more and more you watch it, the more and more you realize, oh yeah, okay, I get it, right? That's the fun part about it, right? The fact that you can escape reality for a little bit and you can enjoy watching these movies. Now there's a clear cut narrative, and I was talking to my wife about this. The crazy thing that the kudos to the Koreans is they're very specific on the types of movies they want to make, right? And they're always about how the haves have to help the have-nots. Whether it's like a period piece where the kings and the princes and stuff fall in love with the peasant girls and whatnot, because they were walking down and he saw her give this homeless kid a piece of bread to eat or whatever, and he fell in love with her because of that. Or if it's kind of the more modern stuff where it's like, hey, you're the CEO of this big company, but you have a responsibility to the country of Korea to make sure that corruption doesn't come and ruin our reputation and stuff. And it's always about how modernism or tradition can be easily corruptible, and we have to fight vigilantly every minute of every day to make sure that the reputation of the Republic of Korea is not tarnished by this corruption. We have to protect everybody against this corruption. And I really admire him for that, because we have a narrative here in Hollywood as well, but our narrative is uh, if you got money, fuck everybody else, right? Our narrative is America is the best country in the world, and if we deem that your country is a terrorist nation, we have every right to come and just murder everybody in your country because we're America and that's what we do, right? We have a narrative that uh, that protects the upper echelon of society, whereas Korea is more like, no, the upper echelon has a duty to protect everybody else. And so it's really fascinating the type of shows and movies they put out. And it took me a little while to understand it, but now that I do, they're really fascinating to me, and I enjoy watching them a lot. Um, Now, don't tell my wife that I said that. No, just kidding. I mean, I don't ever get to pick what we watch anyway. So I asked her the other day if she wanted to watch. I guess this was a few weeks ago now. I asked her if she wanted to watch Roadhouse, and well, that lasted all of 5 seconds. There's a whole story behind that one. We were supposed to watch it with a friend. Come to find out, 2 days later, our friend watched it without us, and his excuse was, how'd you expect me to wait?" and so now my wife doesn't want to watch it, which I don't really care. It's not that huge a deal to me. I can guarantee you this: I don't need to see the new Roadhouse to tell you that it's not as good as the Patrick Swayze Roadhouse, because that was a fucking classic. But it's just funny that I always like, hey, we should watch this. Now technically the ones that she does actually agree to, the ones that I want to watch, are usually comedy movies. And I'm always seeing commercials or things from Kingpin, and I'm like, oh, we should watch this movie, but it's never available on anything. So it just kind of happens to be the way that it is. To her credit, she did watch the Fallout series with me. She did watch the Last of Us series with me. So there are certain things that she is open to watching. But it's just funny that a lot of the stuff, most of the stuff that I put out there, she's nah. But that's okay. That's okay. That's what marriage is. Marriage is just letting my wife do whatever she wants, and she doesn't bother me. I kid, babe, I kid, but not really. Well, that's gonna wrap this one up. I know, again, a little bit shorter. I know I kind of had to rush through it because again, Christopher got sick for the first time ever, and I've kind of freaked out as a parent, not never having a child that was sick before, never dealing with a child that was sick before. My wife took the reins like she always does, because she's the best. But kind of pushed me back a little bit, and I wasn't able to kind of flesh this one out as much as the others. But it's not that much shorter. We're looking at about maybe 50 minutes or so. So it's not super short, super short. But I appreciate you guys. If you made it this far, please do me that favor: hit that like, hit that sub, hit that notification. If you're watching this over on Spotify, hit that follow button on Spotify. Again, video up on both YouTube and Spotify. It's just YouTube gets this first. This will be on Saturday the 4th, I believe. May the 4th be with you. For all you Star Wars fans, shoot, maybe that's what I should have talked about. I should have ranked the Star Wars films for May 4th. Oh well, too late now. But thank you guys so much for watching. Become part of the Sweetness family. Drop down in the description box if you're on YouTube. You can join us on Discord. You can follow me over on Instagram and Twitter. Again, Twitter is kind of more of my I'm gonna complain about U.S. politics mostly because we are becoming a fascist country very, very fast, and the fact that people don't notice it is mind-boggling to me. But we got a bunch of stuff coming out. We just started our journey through Fallout 4, the next gen update on PS5. We'll be continuing that for a few weeks. I am headed to Michigan June 4th through June 23rd. It looks like because we were supposed to play Elden Ring at that time, because the DLC comes out on the 21st. I think probably what we'll do is we'll probably wait on Elden Ring. We'll probably play Fallout 4, unless, it's only, we got May, and then June is next month. So for this month, we'll try and make it through. We're still playing Final Fantasy V. We were a couple episodes into that. So we'll try and finish that up, and then 6. I don't know if we're going to be able to finish it up in the next 4 weeks. I don't think so. To be honest with you, I think 6 is probably going to take me a month at least. So we'll probably put the streams on pause. I'm still fully planning on putting out shorts and the podcast while I'm in Michigan. It's just we'll kind of have to put a pause on the live streams for a couple of weeks. We'll call it a vacay. But what we'll probably do is we'll probably play through 5. If we finish 5 and I can only get 1 episode of 6 in, I'm probably going to not play 6 until I get back from Michigan. but there's a good chance that maybe 5 takes us right up into the end, and then we'll probably just continue playing Fallout 4 until we leave, and then we'll get into Elden Ring when I get back. So, plenty of stuff coming out. If you like it, please do me that favor, become part of the Sweetness family. Again, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell. Drop comments down below. Let me know what you want me to talk about in future episodes, or if there's something that I missed that you're like, no, homie, this is that. Let me know in the comments below. I love reading that stuff. I totally fucked up poor Walton Goggins' name. I called him Walton Groggins, and I apologize. I did not mean to do that on purpose. No disrespect. That dude was phenomenal as the ghoul. And somebody else brought this up, that he was also awesome in The Hateful Eight. I totally forgot he was in that movie. But yeah, he was fantastic as the sheriff. So, do me that favor, hit those comments and let me know where I went wrong, or let me know what you want me to talk about. But the way, that's going to do it for this one. BigSweetC, that's me. Wishing YouTube, Spotify, that's you. Wonderful day, night, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day you might be watching. I'm wishing you a wonderful watching time. Sweetness, signing off. Peace.